All right, guys, let's get the prep spotlight going this week. As always, brought to you by our friends at Jacobs Insurance and the veteran of the prep spotlight now, Sam Ali from Mid Michigan Now, sports director over there. Definitely go give him a follow if you want to keep up on all area high school sports and among other things. He's a great follow on Twitter, Facebook, all the socials. Thanks for joining us again, Sam.
Always a pleasure, guys. There's more nonsense on my social media pages than actual info, so you're never going to be bored.
Well, the nonsense is enjoyable. I'll say that, but it's the holiday season, so let's put a bow on something that we obviously were following heavily, and you were also. And again, we gave you a shout out on Facebook, you and Brandon Green over at ABC 12. Honestly, though, you guys both, among some other local news outlets, you crushed it following the Corunna Cavaliers football team, not only just the playoff run, but, the whole season. So honestly, I just want to give you another, kudos to everything you guys did following our Cavaliers all the way to Ford Field.
It was, there was that moment right after the national anthem where us on the sideline just kind of looked behind us and it was just the entire town was there. And to see the disparity, for lack of a better word, between the fans on the Corunna side and on Catholic Central, it was just unbelievable to be a part of that. And they stuck with them the entire season, so why not see it through to the end? Unbelievable support from Cavs Nation.
Yeah. Well, not to use my corny Christmas pun too much, but let's put a bow on that whole thing. Recap maybe just your experience. You kind of just did your experience at Ford Field covering Corunna, but then maybe your thoughts on the game. They hung with Catholic Central like we were just talking about, and obviously Catholic Central pulled away, in the end, but kind of just your all-encompassing recap of Corunna's historic run to Ford Field and then the game at Ford Field.
Absolutely nothing to hang their heads for. It was a two-score game, a two-score deficit at the end of the day, when there are so many of these other games that are just complete blowouts where one team just seems to be severely overmatched. Definitely wasn't the case, and coaches always point to the experience for a lot of these guys to even be there for this whole entire playoff run. And we do know, because of these big leads that they would jump out to, that a lot of those players were getting some run in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter. So it wasn't just sitting on the sidelines. So a lot of experience. There's going to be a lot of guys, the juniors. A guy like Bryce Eddington is going to be coming back with that experience and being able to ask his brother Jaden what was it like and how to get the mental aspect of things. So it's not a situation where it's like, oh no, how are we gonna recapture this magic? It's totally possible. The experience factor is something a lot of people have to take into consideration. And of course, when you got Steve Herrick delivering these post-game speeches, you would want to run through a brick wall for that guy.
Yep.
One of the events that you've kind of been covering that I thought was really cool, I actually saw you there, said hi. Monte Morris's jersey retirement at Flint Beecher a couple Fridays ago against Goodrich. What was that event like covering? And me personally, when I saw it, I thought Monte Morris was really touched. Is that kind of the same opinion you had of that whole event?
Yeah, you want to talk about a guy who, and in speaking with his teammates, former coaches, just a guy who did not like the spotlight. And he was just like that. When you see videos of the state championships that they won, it's all the other guys in the front holding up the trophy and everything. And Monte's just in the back. He always enjoyed being in the back instead of, this guy's Mr. Basketball. Still just wanted to lean back. But I feel like as the years go by, he realizes what what he needs to do. He needs to be in the forefront. The spotlight needs to be on him to be able to show what can come out of the Flint area, Beecher. He realizes that it's his responsibility now. And he even said that when he got traded to the Pistons, that now he feels like there's more opportunity for him to be a part of the community and to be coming to these events. I even tweeted it out. We might not have that jersey retirement ceremony if it wasn't for the Pistons trading for Monte Morris. And it's like you said, he was really emotional. The most emotion he got was when they named that day, December 1st, 2023, Monte Morris Day. That's when he really got choked up.
Yeah,
and it just shows you how much that day meant to him.
Yeah. Well, it was a great event, and you covered it excellently. And we got the winter season coming up now. I'm sure you're keeping an eye on certain stories in the winter sports campaign and maybe some of the behind the scenes stories that really are neat features. You got anything you can clue us in on a little bit?
I think the most interesting thing, I don't know if it's just this year or something, but a lot of transfers, a lot of kids, whether for whatever reason it could be, mom's got a new job or, dad had to do something. So for one reason or another, and the two biggest ones that really stand out to me on the boys' side, Amarian Blythe, who was on Hamady, and now he transferred over to Davison. And this guy is just an athletic freak. I saw them in the game against Saginaw. Davison didn't come out on top, but the guy is he was, that guy in the background for Hamady. And all of a sudden he would drop 18, 20 easy. And you'd be like, oh my God, who is this guy? And I believe he's still just a junior. He's going to be doing some really crazy things. And on the girls' side, which everyone has been talking about, is the Smith sisters who transferred from Lake Fenton over to Powers. Kendall Smith, sophomore, one of the best guards in the state. Her ability to create space is unbelievable, guys. The step back that she has is unbelievable. And her sister, Amaya, one of the best defenders in the state. All of a sudden, Powers has a contending team with these two sisters. It's going to be crazy when you still find out. You look at these rosters and you're like, oh my God, where did this player go? Oh my God, he or she transferred here and there. Everything's kind of up in the air. I couldn't even tell you who would be the favorite in boys or girls basketball this year.
One of those teams that's really, really good, and this score actually really surprised me, is Saginaw Heritage. They just killed Goodrich, Battle of the Unbeatens last week. There's a big matchup potentially coming up next Tuesday in a week from today, potentially Battle of the Unbeatens again, Freeland and Saginaw Heritage. What have you seen from Saginaw Heritage, and what has impressed you the most about them? And finally, will you be potentially at that game next Tuesday, Freeland and Saginaw Heritage?
Absolutely. I mean, if it's one of those, Heritage, what I feel like is something that you guys are going to be seeing a lot is the carryover from fall sports into winter sports. I think it's a real thing when you see success on the football team and then some of those guys show up and all of a sudden the basketball team is playing really well. Heritage, talking with Tyler Odie, he said that he was kind of motivated when he saw Braylon Isom breaking all these records and doing what he does. They get motivated. I believe their volleyball team also had a really good season too. So you can see that motivation. But with talking with Tyler Odie, he said, teams are trying to key in on me, key in on Braylon. So we need other guys to step up. And when they continue to have that experience, you can have sophomores have big games, juniors. It doesn't necessarily have to fall all on the seniors. And that's the biggest thing that's going to be part of their success if they want to do the same thing that the football team did during the fall.
Yeah. You always see that a class goes through and they have success in really all seasons. If they have athletes that play 3 sports, all of a sudden they're knocking off conference championship after conference championship. It's almost like you can tell this is going to happen. I see some highlights that you post on Twitter off the hardwood. I see bowling, hockey, and some other sports. Why don't we give some love to some of those athletes? What are off the hardwood, not non-basketball storylines that you're kind of keeping an eye on this winter?
I do. Okay, let's talk bowling. All right. Yeah. So Jenna Fajolik from Fenton, perfect game. And I was like, in talking with her, I'm like, do you get a vibe? Do you get a feel of it? And she was just like, once you get like that third, that fourth, that fifth, that's when you start to kind of feel it. And it's I asked her the question that a lot of sports fans ask, was about, the thing with like a perfect game,
Right.
where like, do you talk?
Don't talk
Yeah.
about it.
You don't talk.
Right.
It's the same thing. She said
Yeah.
no one talked to her. They just left her alone, and just because they didn't want to jinx it. So she's just going there rolling, and then boom, 12th strike. Everyone goes nuts. She's a senior too, so what a cool moment
Yeah.
for her. On the hockey side, everyone is going to be gunning for Powers Catholic, defending state champions. And it seems like they're well equipped because they had a lot of juniors that were playing so well, and now they're coming back, and now the hunter becomes the hunted,
Right.
kind of a thing. But they're well equipped for another deep run as well. I don't know. Maybe the Chargers win back to back. I hope so. The better they play, the longer we have to work and we have to cover these moments.
Kind of a follow-up on that as well, looking at the other sports, you're a one-man band there, and you brought up the social media thing. Is that where you're finding that you're able to like pacify certain different sports, because you can only cram so much into the highlight show?
Absolutely. It's just like there might be an interview that we do, and we capture like a very special moment. I'll give you a best example, that the Saginaw Davison game that we covered. We'll do our usual highlights. We'll talk with the players afterwards and do our post game. But there was that moment in the game where TJ Stevenson, the junior, cramping up. Dude's cramping up. They go, hey, give him some Gatorade, give him this. And he's going in and out. And all of a sudden, it went from a double-digit lead to all of a sudden, Davison's got a 1-point lead, 2-point lead. I hear this guy is yelling, give him mustard, give him mustard. And I'm like, who's this guy? And then turns out that was his dad. And his dad gave him went to concessions, a bottle of mustard. And this guy's just chugging it. And it worked because he instantly goes back in there, scores a bunch of points in the fourth, and Saginaw ends up winning the game. Something like that, you want to get it out. I don't want to wait until the next day.
Yeah.
So I post that one separately as just like a hilarious side story of just, you could even hear in my disbelief. I'm like, dude, you drank mustard? Mustard? And he's like, yeah, my dad gave it to me. And all that. That's the best way to kind of capture these like side moments that happen within these games. That's just the way you got to capitalize on social media.
I know you were posting a lot. You mentioned Steve Herrick with Corunna Football. You were posting a lot of his speeches and some, other interviews and stuff like that. Because there might not be time for those in your highlights in your show, but yeah, that's the stuff that blows up on social media. I mean, you probably gained a few followers after that Corunna playoff run because everything you posted, Corunna Football, was just spreading wildfire.
It's usually like that. Like I'll post something, and then there's just some of those communities, and I'll be honest, man, it's those smaller communities who really appreciate it. Another one, Millington. I feel like every time I post something about Millington, they're just so appreciative of that. And then the next time we see them at a game, I had some people at Ford Field kind of waving at me and kind of thanking. It didn't. The game didn't end up being the result that they wanted, but they were just so appreciative. Because I'll say this, I've said it 100 times, I'll say it 101 times. At the end of the day, if we don't cover these teams, us, the local, whether it's TV, print, radio, if we don't cover them, no one's going to cover them. No one's going to know their stories. So it's just an added responsibility. There's so many times, guys, where I'm just like, you know what I mean? I'm in this market. What's the big deal? Whatever. And then I post something, and then like either a grandparent or a parent or an uncle, they'll send this long email of just, thank you so much. My son, my daughter, they could not believe that you did this, that you talked with them and everything. And you just realize, man, just like the responsibility that we have. What is it? With great power comes great responsibility. And I'm just like, man, it just forces me to like, I really got to take this seriously, because the people, they care so much.
Yeah, that's a really good lesson to learn. I've heard that in my career as well, when people come up just out of the blue, and it just kind of blows you away. So you always got to be on your toes and know who you're talking to. Before we let you out of here, Sam, holiday plans. What do you got going on for the holidays?
That's a great question. I think I'll have the whole like week of Christmas off.
Nice.
I think it's just kind of, I mean, it's not like when I lived in Duluth where I was, so far away and stuff, but now that I'm like an hour away, and I just go home down to Dearborn, it's like an hour drive. So it's like, I don't miss anybody anymore. So it's not like, oh, I haven't seen my mom and dad for so long, but just kind of like floating around, I guess, kind of getting ready for the national semifinal. That's pretty much what I'm going to spend my week doing.
All right. Well, we can't let you go without a comment about that. Then lay it on it for us here.
Given I really think, and everyone has their own interpretation of like body language and stuff like that. I really think Michigan was hoping to get Florida State, and when they saw Alabama, it was kind of a shock to them. It's not the Alabama of old. We could say that it's definitely a down year, but I do believe in destiny. I do believe in fate. I think this is just Michigan's year. I think this is, if they get past Alabama, I think this is the national championship. I think the Rose Bowl is the national championship, in my opinion. I think they pull it off. I think this is the year. This is the year they do it, and then whatever happens with the NCAA and all the investigations and everything, it all doesn't even matter anymore.
It doesn't matter. We all know Reggie Bush won that Heisman. Who cares if he actually has it?
I'm telling you, I hate that so vacated wins and that and stuff. It's like, we were there. Yeah. We know
Louisville beat Michigan in basketball too.
We don't want to bring that one up.
No, I know.
Man, that stings. No, I'm kind of with you though. I think, it's such a huge mental hurdle, kind of like Michigan finally getting over that Ohio State hurdle. For Jim Harbaugh, if he could beat Nick Saban, if Michigan could beat Alabama, even if this is a touch of it, I mean, they're still in the playoff. We call it a down year for Alabama, but they still won the SEC. But I totally agree with you. I feel like the experience Michigan has, they've been there for 2 years. Hopefully they've learned something. This has to be the year.
The criticisms and everything that's been going on, you're making a team who has been ranked in the top 2 all year, making them feel like an underdog. I think it's been the biggest mistake of any opposers of Michigan is just you're giving them more feel. You're making them play with a chip on their shoulder. Stop giving them, feeding them, making them feel like they're victims. And so this is a team that has been one of the best for the last 3 to 4 years.
Right. No, keep doing that. Keep doing that.
Do it.
Before we get you out of here, I know we got to let you get to the rest of your night. Before we started recording, we were kind of talking about the Lions a little bit, and you were absolutely disgusted with the thought of Ted planning a Vegas trip to see them in the Super Bowl. Are you like out? Are they going to waste away the division lead, or do you think they're still going to get to the playoffs, but then it's a one and done? What's your vibe on the Lions?
I would say it's looking like the division is so bad that they're just going to stumble into a division championship, which is a big deal. And then when it comes to the matchup, when it comes to the playoffs, who they're hosting, I mean, if they could somehow, I mean, if the Vikings maybe make it, that's probably their best bet. But if anyone with an above average quarterback faces them, I don't know, like they need to be like everyone talks about, the NFL is rigged and all that stuff. They need to find a way to rig it where they don't host the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Don't let that happen.
Not gonna be good.
If that happens, oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, we've seen crazier things happen, but you're supposed to be playing your best football right now, and they're like just going in the wrong direction.
100%. All right, Sam, we'll let you out of here. Let our listeners again know best spot to follow your action.
I'll be on Twitter at Sam Ali Sports, and also on the TikTok, as the kids.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Sam Ali Sports over there, more nonsense and memes and stuff like that, and also on Facebook, Sam Ali Sports. You can follow me on all of those social media platforms. I call it Twitter. It's not X.
It's not
Twitter all the way, baby.
Twitter.
Amen. All right, Sam, have a great holiday, great Christmas and New Year's, and we'll check in with you in 2024, my man.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll be right back with a little bit more on the Prep Spotlight right after this.
Jacobs Insurance Agency has served Shiawassee County and the surrounding areas since 1977. Just like 3 Point Podcasts, we've had 3 generations: Gary Jacobs Sr., Gary Jacobs II, Brian Jacobs, and myself, Noah Jacobs, serving our community with offices in Waterford and Owasso on M21, just west of Home Depot. Stop in or go online to jacobsinsurance.com to get a quote or get your questions answered by our team. Jacobs Insurance is a proud supporter of our local schools and the proud sponsor of the Prep Spotlight. Insure everything, local, independent, and trusted. It's our family working together to protect yours. That's the Jacobs way.
All right, guys, great stuff again, as always, from Sam Ali. Love talking with him. He's got energy. He's a great addition to the mid-Michigan area for sure. Talk a little bit more high school sports, though, and we'll just jump right into high school hoops. In boys basketball, Corunna dominated Owasso 65-23 recently. Braylon Social led the way with 18. Chesapeake's going to have a good season this year. They beat Durand 61-56 in overtime. Mason Struck 27 for the Indians in that one. Another team that's going to have a solid season, now officially a part of the Central Michigan Athletic Conference, Perry. They defeated Saranac 60-40. DJ Jinks had 23. We know Langsburg's going to be good. They down Portland St. Patrick 70-53. Xander Woodruff put up 26. The All-Stater hit for 39 earlier in the week, passing 1,000 career points and a big CMAC win at Pewamo, Westphalia, 59-55. I mean, it's good. We were talking off air, and Freeland has a big matchup coming down the road against Langsburg. I think it's on a Monday night. That's going to be a good test for the Falcons and the Wolfpack to see where they're at this stage of the season.
Yeah, it'll be a really good game. I mean, I don't believe that game's until February, so it'll be a nice little primer right before March Madness. You're going to be out of town in Vegas for it, but like I said, I threw it out when we were talking to Sam Ali a minute ago. I mean, there should be a damn good game as long as Freeland handles business. They have a big game tonight against Mount Pleasant, against a bigger school, but at the very least, I mean, they should be going to that game with just one loss. And in Heritage, 2 Division I players. Freeland's already got 2 players with Division I offers, so 4 Division I players on a Class B court. You don't see that every day, so should be a fun matchup.
Young John Fattel, the head coach of the Falcons. On the girls' side, Owasso beat Corunna 47-29. Scotty Ball-Dooley had 19 for the Trojans. It was Durand over Chesaning 56-33. Taylor Carlson had 19 for the Railroaders. Ovid Elsie, that's probably the girls' team to keep an eye on in our area, along with Owasso. Owasso's got a fine team, but Ovid Elsie downed Lakeville 63-20. Evelyn Cole had 15 for the Marauders. Pretty much everybody's returned to OE, who went 22-5 last season before losing in the quarterfinals. And New Lothrop down Montrose 66-22. Caitlin Wendling had 16. A couple other sports of note, fellas. In wrestling, Durand went 5-0 at the Dansville Invitational to improve to 7-0 on the season. Boy, I'll tell you what, Durand's had a long time solid wrestling program for sure. And New Lothrop, nobody has a better program than New Lothrop. Jack Kohanek went 4-0 at the Highlander Classic to win the 165-pound weight class. And then swimming and diving, the Owasso boys won the Swartz Creek Relays. The Trojans took home first place honors in 5 events. So that kind of gets you up to date where we're at in high school sports. Just looking forward to another great winter season as I've eased into retirement. It's kind of nice last Friday night, sitting on the couch, tuning in periodically to hear Joe and Casey. It was kind of relaxing, to tell you the truth, guys.
Yeah, you get to actually enjoy your weekends a little bit. Not that you didn't enjoy calling the games. I know you did enjoy that, but there's still a lot of work that goes into it.
Yeah. I think it was the commitment, after 40 years, it's the every single Friday commitment that really gets you in the long haul.
I bet you missed the, like hour and a half, total time of work compared to the 3.5 hour football games and getting paid the same. I bet you missed that part of it though.
Yeah. It is a little easier on the vocal cords and everything else in basketball. It is a definitely quicker evening, but that goes with the territory.
Indoors too, you don't have to deal with bad press boxes or anything like that.
Just bad Verizon signals sometimes in the gyms. That's the other thing,
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's jump right into some other sports right after this from our sponsors.